Hello guys, I'm continuing the series of animations with weird machines. Today, I took an already drawn illustration of an excavator with a hand and combined all the layers into one. Then I copied it into a new file. I created a new layer and applied transparency to the illustration. Now I turned on the animation assist. I placed the layer with the illustration in the background. In the settings, I set the number of frames per second to 6. And now I start drawing the sketch of the animation. On the first frame, I quickly and carelessly outline the illustration. I want the movement to be such that the excavator swings its arm and lands on it, and then there is a rotation around the excavator. So now I draw a few frames with the backward movement of the arm, which will be the counteraction. And I also slightly reduce the body. Now the arm moves forward. This will be a very fast movement in terms of speed. Here I enlarge the arm as it moves forward, and the body itself is even more reduced. So, on the next frame, the arm lands. Next, we draw the separation of the machine's body from the ground and begin to spin the camera around it. When the excavator turns over with its lower part, I stretch it out to enhance the effect of rotation. Next, I need to loop the animation. To do this, I copy the first frame and place it at the very end. Now, seeing the underlay, I finish drawing the landing. Let's preview the draft. The sketch is very simple, but overall, the shape and movement are well tracked. Now let's add sketches of details. This is the elbow, eyes, and mouth. We set the number of frames per second to 12. Let's look at the preview. The speed of rotation is good. Now we need to add intermediate frames at the beginning and end. I added 2 intermediate frames for the swing of the arm, and I also added 1 more frame when the arm was already forward. Now let's look at the preview. We move on to the landing. I want to add a small rebound. I also want to add 1 more frame at the moment of landing. Let's look at the final preview of the draft. We start the final tracing stage. In the settings, I turn on the reference and choose the illustration. Now I create a new layer and group it with the first one. The group is now the first frame. I started with tracing the body, for which I immediately chose the final color. I cut out the edges of the facets with an eraser. On the next layer, I draw an arc. On a separate layer, I draw a hand. For now, it will be just a black contour. A separate layer with wheels. And a separate layer with the elbow and attachment. We move on to the next frame. I also group it with a new layer. The body and wheels can be duplicated from the first frame. The remaining parts are also traced on new layers. Be sure to compare the final contour with the previous frames so that they all look similar to each other. Otherwise, the movement will not be smooth. Now we have to trace all the other frames based on these examples. Group them and draw the details on new layers. Let's speed up this process. On the last frames, I also use a duplicate of the first one. Let's watch the intermediate preview. We continue. Draw eyes and mouth. I want blinking and slight teeth clenching. Since I made the body a solid fill right away, I couldn't see the neighboring frames for the eyes, so I draw them, guided by the edges of the facets. Preview. Next, I paint pink details. For hands, I make a division of fingers using an eraser. Let's speed up. The last thing left is the wheels. So, the animation is ready. How did you like my work? Let me know if you enjoyed following the process. Thank you, and see you in the next video.